Hello, everyone. Welcome to Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. I'm Matt Connerton, and of course, with me is the Honorable Gary S. Hopper.
I don't like that. Wait a second.
What's that? Oh, the chair, yeah. Yeah, you look like you're a dwarf or something.
Yeah, now I look taller than you. I like that better.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, we don't say dwarf. That's politically incorrect.
Yeah,
They're,
that's wicked bad.
Dwarfing
That's
Americans
horrible.
or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Little people. Oh, that's what it is, yes.
The wee little people.
Yes, yes.
Anyway. Oh, man. We just got done doing Norm and Friends. Now we're on that. What are you doing again?
This is Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades, hence the
hand grenades.
hence the
Yes,
hand
hand
grenade.
grenades. Tonight we have, when I was a freshman legislator, one of the gentlemen I was quite impressed with is Representative Carlos Gonzalez, who's here tonight. We were freshmen together in 2000, and we got John Bird, who's here with us again. He just finished Norm and Friends, so he's sticking around for at least a few minutes.
Yes.
And I'll tell you, one of the coolest things I saw Carlos do in our freshman year was, it was Jean Shaheen was governor, and her henchmen accused Carlos, I believe it was during the State of the State address by the governor.
Mm-hmm.
If I get it wrong, tell me. But somebody booed. Maybe somebody did. Somebody didn't. But Carlos was accused of doing it. Why Carlos was accused when there's 400 people out there? How you can actually tell who it is? But Carlos was very offended because it was. He's a lot classier than that. That would be something I would do.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Not Carlos. So he gets up and after a session, people have basically personal privilege, and occasionally get up and talk about something that's bothering them or whatever it is, or if they're retiring or whatever. So Carlos asked for special privilege to get up. And after the House session, I think it was the following week, and he talked about the Bible that says you shall not bear false witness. Mm-hmm. And he talked about the fact that although he did not agree with Jean Shaheen, he would never do anything because of the position she was in. He would not insult the governor's position.
Yeah.
Yep.
And did not boo and should not be falsely accused. Talked about the thou shalt not bear false witness. Opened up the Bible. And this is no kidding. This is in a Republican-controlled House. At least a third of the people got up and walked out of the door.
Really?
A
Serious?
third of the people.
When the Bible came out?
As
at that
soon
moment?
as he opened the Bible,
Really?
it was like roaches running out the door because the lights came on.
Wow.
Why?
Well, I had to share with you. By the way, thank you very much for having me here with you guys. I know that this is a program that's widely seen, and also it brings the attention to the people. That was one of those occasions in life that basically takes you by surprise, because when you know you have done nothing, it is a choker for you. It is a big surprise. And I did pray about it, by the way.
Yeah.
I prayed for it. I said to myself, if after 1 week of praying, which is 7 days, which is the magic number for Jesus Christ,
Right.
7 days, if I am still feeling this way, I will ask for the privilege to speak to the floor on this issue, because I was falsely accused. And I did so because my mind was troubled and I needed to speak up. And there is a time for everything. There is a time to be born. There is a time to die. There is a time to be quiet, but there is a time to make a noise. There is a time to be sad, and there is a time to be happy. And there is a time to be silent, but there is a time to speak up. At that time I said, it is time for me to speak up. And I did so. And I did so with a clear mind. And being that you are on the first period, you are a novice, you are completely new, brand new, fresh from the oven. You were, was I. The first time we get elected, I just didn't know much the road, but to be accused by somebody so close to the governor, and basically it became a big news. It was in the newspapers, it was in the television, and I just didn't want to be part of the choir at that moment. But on the following week, I did so. And I basically, not out of protesting, but out of being falsely accused, I said, the truth will set me free. And I demand an apology, and I demand a meeting with the governor, with the according authority, the Speaker of the House, and so on, to clarify the issue.
Mhm.
And the apology was issued. And the governor basically explained to me and apologized for herself because it wasn't necessarily coming out of her, but it was
Speaking for her,
one
though.
of the surrogates.
Yeah.
And because I am not a violent mindset, I'm very civil.
Mhm.
I'm very respectful of the authorities. For each one of us elected is elected by God. And amazing but true, most people don't quite understand that when give us the wisdom to elect the leaders, there is a lesson to learn. You know, no matter whom, from the president, which is right now of Barack Obama, to the lesser state level position, which is, you know, at the local town, you know, whatever position you may call it, we are all appointed by the people with the wisdom of God to make and leave a mark in the town, the cities, or the state, or even the country in which we are elected. There is a time to be appointed. And don't make no mistake, if you decide to do something and you did it with a good heart, you are very likely to be successful. And he was successful. He's been elected and re-elected. I've been successful. I've been elected and re-elected. And I'm still speaking.
What about John, though? Is he kind of the exception to that?
No. John is a 1 in a million.
Yeah.
To say that, you know, because, you know, when I met John,
So was Gaddafi.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
Good point. Yes.
He's 1 in a million, you know, because the most eloquent part of him is his character and his smile and his positive demeanor.
Mhm.
You know, when he goes to the podium to speak to all of us and he uses his voice, which is a very deep, commanding but friendly voice.
Yes.
And he calls the attention to the speaker. Mr. Speaker, you know, I'm trying to mimic him, but
Yes.
he's going
You don't have the mustache. You need the mustache to do a good John
I
Burke.
said to myself, this guy is going to make a mark. And I'm not saying that because he's here.
Yeah.
And I remember, because you sit in 1 or 2 rows behind me, and I remember telling him jokingly, Mr. Speaker, you know, the fact is that he commands a presence, he's got a good character, and he can convey a message to all of the representatives that are there without being non-offensive.
Mhm.
And that's the type of leadership that we need to
It is.
have from the local towns to the state level to the presidential level. Non-offensive, positive, but to the point. You know, we don't need to give much run around. He's one of those kind of leaders, and that's what I said, that he's 1 of a million. So I'm giving you a compliment.
Well, thank you.
Right here, you know, in person, because that's something that you probably didn't hear from me before. But I'm doing it publicly on television, so people get to see that you are an extreme, wonderful, great candidate, and I know that you're going to be re-elected again.
Well, thank you.
I know I go out of my way to offend people.
No, you don't, you know. Most people agree with you, even though they disagree with you. You know, it's kind of a funny way to say that they agree to disagree with you, because none of us have to agree in every subject.
No.
100%,
That's right.
you know. And you have your way to get through with people, you know, whether they agree or disagree with you. And, you know, I remember when you called me, Carlos, do you want to come to the television program? You know, I said, oh my God, I'm busy. I don't know if I can make it. But being it that is coming from you, I said, well, I'm going to make an effort, and I'm going to be there with you guys. And I do my best, and I will talk from my heart with a clear mind, you know, because I'm no accusatory. The facts are the facts, and we are living today in crucial times at the state level and at the country level. This is a turning point for the whole country, which is called United States of America, a nation of nations. And I believe on this incoming election in November, we have to make a change for good for this country. With all due respect to Democrats, with all due respect to President Barack Obama, God bless him, he's left a mark already. And looking beyond him, I think this country needs a new direction. And I believe that with the leadership of Governor Romney, we will have a new direction for this country and rescue the country and turn it around to better path and better future. We need it.
What ward do you represent?
I am representing Ward 12,
Okay,
which
now
is
you
on the west side.
you
Just
were-
one ward?
Yes, now
Wow, it's
I
going to
am,
be a
yeah.
big one.
Yeah. Well, Ward 12 is on the northwest side, Northwest Elementary School in Jubile Street, and basically is one of those very active wards.
Yeah.
And they know me. And by the way, Ward 12, my people, God bless you. Thank you very much for helping me win the primary. And I became your #1 candidate for the November election. Don't forget me. I'm asking for your vote. Ward 12. Remember me, Representative Carlos Gonzalez. I'm a community builder, and I work with and for all people.
They're a key demographic of this show, Ward 12. Our research shows that.
we do research?
Yes.
When did we
Remember?
start doing that?
At the beginning of the show. Remember all that research we did?
No.
Oh. Gary has a short memory. He doesn't remember research.
No,
Yeah.
no. No, I'm all about the free food in Concord.
Yes.
So I run every 2 years. Get,
Yes.
hot dogs from John, hamburgers from the Union guys. Doesn't matter.
You're not prejudiced.
I am not
No.
prejudiced. There's no free food is free food is free food. That's the way I look at it.
I joined you the last time.
You did?
Hey, I was very hungry.
Yeah.
And believe me, we are volunteer leaders.
Yes.
We volunteers. If you people here in the state of New Hampshire do want to know the real plain truth about all of us 400 state reps and the 24 senators, we are volunteers. And we do it for you because we care for you, irrespective of which party.
Right.
I believe we are doing our best to make our state.
I think that's one of the things we kind of lost a lot this past 2 years. And I heard this on both sides. It's not a party particular issue. People who would denigrate the other side as being evil or whatever, and they're just volunteers too. They're people that have spent X number of hours running for office, X number of hours going up to Concord, dressing up nice,
Exactly.
the part I hate, and going through the process and working on legislation. And even if you disagree with them entirely on every subject, the fact of the matter is, there's still a volunteer who cares enough about their constituents and their ideas and beliefs that they're fighting for them.
Yeah.
We have to have the respect, at least on that level, for everybody that gets involved in it. It's like I hear a lot of denigrating things against Obama, but the fact of the matter is, he did step up to the plate. He did fight for what he believes in. I just disagree with what he believes in,
Exactly.
which isn't the same thing as he's evil.
No.
That's right.
Yeah. But there is a lot of the demonization.
Well, he is evil, but I'm just saying not.
Sure,
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
You see it in Washington, too. You see it on the national level. I don't think I've ever seen it this bad. The way people demonize each other who disagree with
but
each other. It's terrible.
The reality is that politics is the art of being best actor. And with all due respect to Hollywood, New Hampshire has a very high population of actors. 400 state representatives.
Yeah.
Third largest legislative body in the world, right?
Exactly. So, but guess what? We don't get paid like in Hollywood.
Right.
Well, I was talking. We had a state rep. I don't know if it was on here. Or I was talking to one who went to I think it was California, and introduced himself.
Oh,
the
yes.
speaker. The speaker was, who was that?
I can't recall who did it, but
And
yes,
they
I
went
heard
to
the story.
the speaker of the California legislature, and the guy gave him the tour and stuff like that. Well, no, it wasn't Cal. It was another kind. It was like
No, it wasn't California.
It wasn't California?
And they wanted to know how much he made.
they wanted to make how much he made, and they said says 200. 200. You get $200,000. Says no, $200. No,
Because they make about 120
yeah,
is their base
exactly.
pay.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a year though.
Yeah, that's per year.
We make $100 per year, and then we have to pay for our license plates.
Yeah, $18.
Yeah.
But you know, the irony of life is $400, $200 a year,
Yeah,
and we really have a good fiscal policy and budget and state of the states, anyway, the 50 states, you know. And I mean, when you look at the figures of those salaries, 120,000 per leaders in California versus 400 at 200 each. 400 times 200 is
Yeah.
not much, you know.
Yeah.
It's almost one salary for one of those persons, you know. So, and you figure, wow, what is wrong with the picture in California? California has almost every 2 years, every 4 years, when they're dealing with their budget, gone almost bankrupt.
Yeah, well, that's. I think part of the reason is because of the way it is in New Hampshire. In California, if you're running, like I checked in Massachusetts quite a few years ago, in New Hampshire, my first election cost me $900, and I got some from my cousin and stuff like that. And down in Massachusetts, that is going to cost you $40,000 or $60,000 for
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
for state representative.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so you need a lot of people. You know, you have to butter a lot of bread to make that happen, because most people aren't going to give you that much money. So there's some big donors that are basically feathering your nest so that you can get in there. So you owe them by the time you get in there.
Yeah.
You know. But in California, I'm sure it's the same thing.
So we had to do many hot dog cookouts.
Yes. I'm working on the next one.
Hey, you are very good at it.
Yeah, yeah. Next May we're having hot dog day again.
Another
Really?
day, you get to plan this one in advance. When he did his hot dog cookout, you wouldn't believe how much flack he got.
A
Yes,
ton.
yes.
Really?
A ton
Yeah.
of flack. He's just trying to make people hot dogs.
Exactly.
And it turned out to be,
Oh,
you know, people were giving him money to help pay for the hot dogs. No, you can't take that money because it violates
Ethics.
the
Yeah.
ethics
The
law.
ethics
and
laws, yeah.
So we had to give the money back. And it was like,
I had
wow.
$1,800 collected.
You did?
And, yeah, and I had to give it all back. And so the ethics guy, real nice guy, he told me, he says, you're going to have to cancel. And I said, failure is not an option. I'm going to put this on if I have to pay for it myself.
Exactly.
But I don't have the money.
Yeah.
You know, I'm making $100 here.
Yeah.
So we found this dog, nonprofit dog organization, and they were the ones that collected the money.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
Oh, that's too funny.
Yeah,
That's too funny.
and you know, we came in way under budget, so
Do you
they
think
made
it's
real
kind of
good.
wrong, though, for a dog organization to be having...
Well, it was like what you said, Carlos, about Mr. Speaker. When I say that, oh, it was funny. Lynette Peterson, a state rep, she told me one day after I got done with one of my little speeches, she goes, "You say Mr. Speaker one more time, I'm going to shoot you." And I said, "But you're supposed to."
Yes, yeah.
No. She says, at the beginning, at the end, maybe, but not every sentence. And I said, oh, I thought you had to talk to him. See, I thought, you know, there is a big learning curve.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, the way you approach when you present at the podium is so attention-getting. That's actually more important than whether it's necessarily a good idea to say it that many times. Because the hardest part is getting people to pay attention.
Pay attention.
Yes, yeah.
You get some people that get up that are very articulate and are full of facts, and they'll go through and they can recite budgets and everything else, and after about 2 seconds, your eyes glaze over and you pass out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So maybe they said some really important things, but
But I had to say that the few times that you have come up and spoken to all of us, your presence, you command presence. And the moment you say Mr. Speaker, it's like everybody's like, oh, there he is. And I'm not saying that in a negative context. Basically, you are commanding their attention. The speaker doesn't even need to use his gavel, you know, because just by you presenting yourself and starting your presentation, people are already focusing in what you are saying, and that is true. What you are saying, that some people are very eloquent, and guess what? In 2 to 3 minutes, they lose all of us.
Yeah.
And people lose their attention of what's going on. So, you know, it's good in one sense that you are that way, and it's also good for the people that you represent, you know, because it commands presence and it commands focus on this issue that you're talking about.
Well, one thing I learned right from the beginning, Don Gorman kind of trained a bunch of us, and I was part of it, very fortunate to be part of it. He said, watch as some reps get up. The second they grab the mic and go, and they're just about to start talking, a third of the place
Clears out.
clears out as fast as they can go.
Yes.
And he says that you do not want. You want to make sure when you stand up, and I am very fortunate when I get up and I go, thank you, Mr. Speaker, in my tone. I don't see a lot of people leaving. It's like, so that even makes me more nervous because now more people are there
Right,
staring at me.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it's the other thing is you don't make it long.
No.
There's some people some people get up and that you got time to go get coffee.
There's times I could have gone home for supper and gone back up to the State House before the vote.
So
What's the longest anyone's gotten up and talked for?
well, we don't have in Washington D.C. They have what's called a filibuster, where they can
Yeah.
actually stall or almost stop legislation by continually talking, and they'll have somebody else. They'll yield their time to somebody
Yeah.
else, and they'll keep going and going, and they'll have like a marathon.
Yeah.
We don't do that. You basically, if you go on too long, people walk out of the room.
Yeah.
My rule of thumb is 3 minutes.
Yeah, the
Okay,
rule of thumb
yeah.
up there is 3 minutes,
Yeah.
but it doesn't mean that you're restricted. But people don't go on that long.
Well, I had a speech that was 3 minutes and 14 seconds long, and I beat myself to take words out, and they had to be all there.
Yeah.
So I was telling my friend Don, and he says, 3 minutes, John, 3 minutes, get it down. I said, I can't. He says, you don't go to that floor with 3 minutes and 14 seconds.
Wow.
Now, Carlos, when we started, you were talking about the country has to change direction.
Yes, it does.
What do you? Can you go into more detail why?
Well, we were talking about how politics is a dirty word.
Yes.
It was like that somehow in the past, but now it's like the moment you talk to people about politics and politicians and the incoming election, it's like people roll their eyes already. They just don't even want to pay attention to you,
Yeah.
The turning point is people have to now, more than ever, pay attention, because this will define which way this country goes when it comes to what I call socialism or capitalism. With all due respect, this nation, which we call United States, is a nation of nations. Number one, and not only are we good leaders for ourselves, but we are the leaders of the world. As we go, so goes the whole world. We are in America because of the opportunity this country gave us.
Yep.
The founding father created this nation with God in mind. No thanks to those non-believers. The Constitution is a carbon copy of the thoughts of the founding fathers. To begin with, the phrase "in God we trust" is Judeo-Christian. It's in all the currency of the United States. The history of the country is all plastered in buildings, documents, and so on, which is basically Judeo-Christian values coming from the Bible to give us civic and moral values and the character and the personality which this country, the United States, stands by and stand to continue to be. Whether we slide back and we let this country to become a godless nation, this country will pay a price. And that's my prediction. I am a Christian, by the way. With all due respect to you that might not call yourself Christian, you might be of any philosophies or belief. But a godless nation goes nowhere. We've seen it time and time again in all the nations of the world that have taken the word God from their constitution. Of all the constitution of the European countries, they took the word God from their constitution.
But they're trying to take it here.
And they are trying to take it here. And the fact of the matter, that was where decadence started to take place in those countries. They all far behind. They are all far behind. Yes, they are coming together under the Eurocom, the Euro nations, and whatsoever, but they will not stand. America still has a chance to continue to be the nation that it is, and it's only if we take charge and continue to keep this nation focused and trusting God, and with God in mind. And this incoming election, all the signs are there of what I call traditional values. With all due respect to people that may not agree with the traditional values and philosophies, but society is what society is because of the traditional family to begin with. You might challenge me what I'm trying to say when it comes to that, but I had to believe that politically, leadership comes from the top down. There is an appointment, and the appointment was at this time for Barack Obama. But Barack Obama, right now, more than ever, my personal opinion, is lacking leadership.
He is.
Is lacking a good character to lead this nation and present this nation to other nations.
He seems to, in a large part, almost be apologizing
Yeah.
for our Christian heritage.
Yep, too much.
And the fact is, there is nothing further from the truth than being a Christian. Because we get all of these freedoms we get from the Judeo-Christian values and being Christians. No matter the denomination, no matter the denomination, the choices of the good and the bad, from civic values to moral values of all kinds, come from Judeo-Christian values. And the freedom that we enjoy today, which this country is a republic, by the way, we are democratic because we elect. But this is a republic, contrary to what we saw in Europe. We did the opposite of Europe. We were looking for freedom. People come to America still today looking for what?
Freedom.
Freedom. They're running away from their own countries. For God's sake, that is speaking louder than words for the next election of what this country needs to be, from the smallest state, I believe it's Rhode Island, I think New Hampshire is number 2, to the largest state, California. And we have to keep it just like the motto of this country says, in God we trust. Don't deviate from that, with all due respect. I know that when things go tough, we cry foul, we use foul language, but at the end we pray. At the end we pray. There is one time and one occasion that we will always remember forever because it marked this nation, September 11. What came after that September election the following year was a euphoria of belief in God. God bless America. God bless America. God bless America. God bless USA. Correct me, all of you, if I'm wrong.
No,
Yeah.
I remember right after September 11th, because you and I were still freshman legislators.
Exactly.
And they had a huge prayer meeting up at the Capitol and right after 9/11, and it was very, very humbling.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's the humbling of the spirit of America that leads us to be able to turn back towards God, as opposed to continuing down the road of decadence that we were headed. But it was short-lived.
Well, at the State House, every Wednesday when we have session, we say a prayer
Yes. Yeah.
and pledge allegiance, and then we sing. How many state houses across this country do you think do that?
I think the United States Congress starts out with prayer too. Still.
Yeah, they start.
They still have a
Oh, they do?
chaplain.
Oh,
I believe so. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Yeah, well, but there are tendencies to trying to get rid of it, or to at least do a moment of silence, and I had to share that with a moment of silence because it's coming to the schools, and this is where we had to instill the most patriotic beliefs and values to our children. If our children don't grow being proud and loving of their own country, who will care for this country?
that's right.
I mean, we took God and the teaching of the Bible of the schools in the 60s. We have a nation of younger generation that has grown without God. And then
We're
they-
actually in the school systems today, we're doing our best to disprove God
yes, sir.
as opposed to actually encouraging children of faith. And even though it's substantial evidence that children of faith do better.
Yes.
So we're on two fronts. You know, it's like Carlos was saying about how important the family is. We're doing our best as a country to destroy the family and to destroy faith, and subsequently destroying the country.
But look at the private schools and the Christian schools. Their test scores are extremely high, and what do they begin with every day? A prayer.
Yeah, but that's different because it's not just a prayer.
That's true.
It's if it is in a Christian school, I would be willing to bet that anybody that cares enough about Christianity that they send their children to Christian school also cares enough about their family to probably be in more intact, secure environments for the children.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's not necessarily equatable because you get, I think, at least two variables there, not just one.
Yeah, but you're talking about Christian private schools. Let's go no further. You know, there is I would say, a new period, a new situation that's happening with the charter schools. You know, the charter school, whether they are Christians or non-Christian, but I'm going to talk about the ones that are non-Christian, that are just charter schools that give people choices to bring their kids to the school of their choice. And those schools are also doing very well
Yeah.
when it comes to their score, when it comes to the discipline, when it comes to graduation rates,
Yeah.
and so on and so on. So at the end, that's what I'm trying to tell you guys about the turning point of this nation. This is a nation that can experiment with anything, and at the end of that challenge, still be successful in everything we do. You know, you just don't see that in most nations around the world. You know, because everything is controlled or manipulated by the powers that be. You know, let's talk about China. Let's talk about Russia now, the way it is. You know, they are going backward
Yeah.
as we speak. You know, amazing but true. Whatever freedoms they acquired the last 10, 15 years after Gorbachev went down, now it's a setback again when it comes to Russia. And
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
Putin's a bad guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Putin was KGB, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
so I'm trying to tell you that a nation without freedom, and the freedom that we enjoy it because of being Christian oriented from the very beginning. Some people might want to say the separation of church and the state and so on and so on. But the fact of life is that publicly or privately, we are not disconnected from those Judeo-Christian values in anything we do.
Well, I
Whether
think
privately or whether publicly. That they want to say, hey, don't bring the Bible. Like I remember when those people on the state floor, they walk away from when I opened the Bible. I didn't even know that I was offending them. That's what some people told me. Well, they walk away from your speech because you use the Bible. I said to myself, well, whatever happened to freedom of speech,
freedom of religion.
freedom of religion? And I'm an elected official. Am I any lesser than you when I come to the podium and I am supposed to listen to you?
You know what's pathetic? You know what's really pathetic, Carlos? If you would opened up a Koran, they never would have gotten up.
Yeah.
Well, that speaks
Yeah.
louder than words about where we are.
I'd
where
be
we are.
It's
willing to
true,
put money
yeah.
on it.
Yeah.
Because they would have respected that more than,
Yeah, well, they would have, you know.
or been fear of being called a hate monger or
Yeah,
whatever,
something like
racist.
that.
Yeah.
And I was doing nothing wrong except to clarifying and asking, rightfully so, for an apology and to clear up my name, because the same way you see me speaking to you guys right now and being on television, I speak as seldom as possible, only when needed. I don't like to listen to myself, and I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Because some people, they like to talk and talk and talk and talk. And
I was gonna say, you don't know
and
anyone
talk.
like that,
I
do
don't
you?
know.
Which is what we were saying. You know, at the end, many people in the floor at the State House, they leave because they are talking so much that people don't want to even pay attention to them. So I don't like to go to the podium in front of the floor just to speak for speaking. Give me the opportunity, the right time, the right moment, the right subject, I will speak up.
Yep.
Like I said, there is a time to be silent, there is a time to speak up. You know.
Hey, what happens when Steve Valancourt gets up to speak? How do people react?
Most of them take off.
Do they? I think they'd want to stay because I get the impression
Sometimes
it's
it's
pretty
entertaining.
Well, it is. Yeah, there is
Usually-
entertainment.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
entertainment value, and that's the kind of that's actually kind of the problem with Steve. And I don't like talking about, but Steve is really bright.
He is.
Yeah.
He's very articulate,
Yep.
and he makes very good points. And a lot of times, I will vote with Steve because of his argument.
Yeah.
Okay, but he aggravates so many people that it's counterproductive because your inclination when he gets up is to vote against him.
Right.
Emotionally, I mean,
Yeah.
fundamentally, we're all emotional human beings are emotional, and emotionally, you want to vote against him, and you have to override the emotion and listen to the actual argument versus the I don't know what you want to call it, to rationally decide whether it is a good or not a good idea do you agree or disagree. So I think he does himself a disservice the way he approaches it.
Yeah.
Now I may
He's
have.
definitely smart enough to do well.
I may have to be friends with him because he did come up to me last year when we were in the house, and he said, "Good morning or good afternoon, Chairman, Mr. Chairman." And I go, "Who are you talking to?" And he goes, "You vote for me for Speaker of the House, I'll make you Chairman of the Municipal and County Government Committee." So now, I did tell the Speaker that, our current Speaker, Speaker O'Brien. I said, "Now, look, you got to give me something here because Valancourt's,
Valancourt, if he was could temper his emotions, I think, a little bit,
Yeah.
would actually make a really darn good speaker. He is that bright, but he's I don't know. I'm not going to spend too much time on that. But
I wouldn't dare.
Just to give him some compliment, because you say that he's very bright. I would say that I will compliment even to some extent more. He cares.
obviously,
He
yeah.
cares,
Yeah.
and I'm saying, in spite of his personality, he cares, and he has his own opinion, and he has his own way of presenting it.
Well, that's for sure.
Exactly. And when he presents it, that's what he may need to either fix or keep it. But it's gonna be up to him to balance himself,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna use the word refine himself, because like what we said, I respect him. Don't you guys respect
Oh,
him?
yes. Yeah.
I believe we all respect him, but and I'm gonna reiterate again. He cares. He cares for Manchester. He cares for the state.
Well, he had some
He's-
good
yeah.
bills before,
Yes, yeah, he
in my
does.
committee. A lot
Yeah,
of his
yeah.
bills came before my committee.
Exactly.
And there were some good ones. I've heard he's had some whacked out ones also.
Yes, yeah. And like you
They
said,
say that about me too. So.
Yeah.
I have voted with him sometimes, not all the time, but because like I said before at the beginning, we can agree to disagree without having to be disagreeable. There are some things we see eye to eye. There are some things that we are far apart, and that's where we draw the line. And we say, well, I respect you, you respect me, but in this one, I'm sorry, I don't agree with you. And that's the art of being a good politician. Leadership. Some people say that you were born with it, but leadership also you can acquire. You can acquire by doing it and
Well, I think you
neglecting
do,
it.
because my freshman year, I came in. I think I was a little bit angrier my freshman year because I had some preconceived notion. It took time to start learning how to care about other people that you didn't agree with. You know what I mean? Because you really do. You have to. And now, over the years, I've got a lot of my friends are Democrats, and some of my conservative friends will ask me, some of the newer, it's usually freshmen,
Yeah.
well, why are you talking to that person? Because I really like them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever voted with them, but
Well, another good thing that I liked what Carlos said is we got invited. I think every rep got invited for snack or tea time with the governor, and I was criticized when I went.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of them says, "Why are you going? It's Lynch." And I go, "Look, for one, I personally like Lynch. He's a nice guy.
Yes,
I do not like his politics,
Right.
But out of respect to the office, I'm going to go."
Yeah.
And here I am sitting there, and then of course they start going around the table and complaining about how bad it is out there, and I said, well, shame on all of you. When it was finally my term, and I told every one of them, even the governor, how shame on you. I said, if you want to make it better, make it better. I said, I'm putting on Hot Dog Day to try to make it better.
Right.
Everybody can do that.
yes.
Everybody can get along,
Yes.
but we don't. Some don't.
Well, the old times politicking is right now lacking.
Yeah.
I remember people saying Moynihan, the Kennedys, the Reagan likes, the John McCain, people that will be completely opposite in ideologies and beliefs, but they will come together
Oh yeah.
and they will put bills together, like you would not believe it. And for some people, it's even up to recently, until last election before President Barack Obama was elected, there were people still doing that type of
Yeah.
politics,
Well, you look-
compromising, working together, and so on and so on. But all of a sudden, everything just became a big
So
split,
polarized
so
now.
polarized
Yeah.
that now it's like, I don't like you, you don't like me, and therefore don't come even near me.
Right.
That type of attitude.
Yeah,
And that's
I-
not what life is about.
I know it's
Yeah.
like Obama complains, and a lot of Democrats complain because the House, the United States House, is run by Republicans, and so quote unquote they're stopping everything. But people should keep in mind Reagan had Tip O'Neill.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they would argue and whatnot, but they would work together and compromise, and then they'd have a drink after at the end of the day. They
Yeah.
were friends.
Well, look
So
at-
actually, what we should do is hire more alcoholics. I think is what you're saying, right?
Yes, it brings people together.
Exactly.
Yes, yes.
Well, another thing that leaves kind of a bad taste, I think, in the public's mouth is the media. I mean, we got the extreme left, as far as I'm concerned, the Concord Monitor and MUR, and then we have the extreme right, most of the time, the Union Leader, and they play, those, let's beat up whoever's in office game.
Yeah, but by the same token, they're not elected officials. Elected officials should be able to go up there and get along with everybody up there, whether or not you like them.
Yes.
It's not high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's
It feels like it.
I was going to say, have you told everybody that?
You know what I mean? It's not like, well, I'm not talking to them because they talk to that person.
Yeah.
That's what you do in school.
Right.
Yeah.
We're grown people, just because you just... And actually, I was watching a thing, National Propaganda Radio, I think I was listening to, which I flip between that and, say, Rush Limbaugh, and I get, like emotional or whiplash.
Yeah, yeah.
I almost broke my neck one time. So... Anyway, it was a conversation a woman had who's, I guess, a sociologist, and she was saying that when you actually want to change people's minds, those presentations on the House floor, that's not the way to do it. The way to change people's minds are at dinner or lunch or at breakfast, sitting and talking to a few different people. Because that way you can have an actual intimate conversation where there's some sharing of ideas and stuff like that, and people aren't basically on guard.
That makes sense. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
How about
those interactions, and today when people go out to lunch, they go out to lunch with a bunch of like-minded people. So you go into lunch, you're not going to change anybody's mind because everybody agrees with you.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have to do more to sit down. I was wondering if the speaker should divide the seats up. So the Democrats, it's Democrat, Republican, Democrat, Republican. So
Well, I was heard that was done once and it didn't work out very well.
probably not, but it'd be funny.
It would. Yeah.
It changed over time. My aisle 4,
Yes, yeah.
we had the Democrats would walk by at the beginning of the year. They were really hostile. They would deliberately. There would be like 4 of us in a row. 3 or we have 3 Republicans, and I think the next one after that was a Democrat. Okay, and a Democrat from the end of the row. There'd be one Democrat on the very end.
Yeah.
They'd walk all the way around when they wanted to get back to the seat and make sure that we were inconvenienced.
Really?
Oh yeah,
Wow.
oh yeah. It was like very deliberate, very obvious,
Very childish.
wicked childish.
That's a good
But
one.
it changed over time when people started to get to know each other. You know,
Yeah.
and that's kind of
Well, you
Uh-oh.
got a caller. Oh my God.
Grab this really
holy
quick.
mackerel.
Hi, welcome to Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. Who's on the line?
Hello, it's Eric from Manchester.
Hi, Eric.
Hey, I thought I'd give you a quick tidbit there. You guys are talking about a variety of topics. And I happen to be looking at my favorite book here in the whole world. I don't know if you guys ever heard of it, called Rev.
I'm not
No.
familiar.
It's
Motorcycles?
an incredible way to rev up your workplace and achieve amazing results. And the guy says it here, a famous quote in here. It says, "Caring for your common folk doesn't cost you a cent." That's the problem with this. Most people around, they don't care about nobody. They just care about themselves.
Yeah.
So everybody cared about, well, people you work with and people, obviously in your environment.
Yeah.
It would make a better world. So you guys have a good show.
No, that's a good point. I think
Thanks, Eric.
I disagree with the characterization that people that state reps up there don't care about anybody but themselves. I don't think there's that many who do that for $200 a year.
Yes.
So they do care about issues and they care about constituents. But your point is well taken. If people started caring about the other state reps and caring how they're doing and getting to know them, I think we'd go a lot farther towards having a more hospitable working situation up
Yeah.
in Concord, if nothing else.
Yes.
Yeah. But but I also believe that the way that politicians are being portrayed by the media, or used or manipulated by the media, is not doing a good service to one of the oldest professions, which is politicians. So the media is.
Was that the second oldest?
Yes. Well, there are many of them. Politicians have been there even before I was born. But what I'm trying to say is that the media plays a big role in how people views us, perceive us as politicians, because we are elected, and we have to make our best. Like in this instance where we are right now talking of doing what you are saying. Yes, we care. Otherwise, we would not be there for a whole year, 2 years, just earning $200 a year. That's the New Hampshire way, and that's why I like New Hampshire. I like the New Hampshire advantage. No sales, no income tax, and I will vote that way. I'm very frugal, and I like it that way. I don't want New Hampshire to become like New York.
No.
Like Boston next door. No, let's not talk about California because
No, we already did.
We already know what's going on in California. So New Hampshire is very unique, and we have to keep it unique.
Yeah.
With the New Hampshire advantage.
Oh, agreed.
Yeah, I think we were talking on the previous show about how the importance of not only I think part of the New Hampshire advantage is and should stay a good percentage of the spending that's done in New Hampshire as far as taxes is all local.
Yes.
As soon as you get away from that, we end up like with what we have in Washington, which is a huge bloated,
Yeah.
behemoth of waste.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at your taxes, most of your taxes are spent locally.
Yes.
Your property tax. If you don't like your property tax, you can get enough neighbors and stuff to go down to town hall and say, no, we're not building that.
Exactly.
You want to build a new fire station, then you guys get together on Saturday morning and build it yourself because we ain't paying for it.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean?
Yes.
Things like that. If you want to get involved, you can affect change.
Yes.
But when that money goes up to the state or federal level, it's gone to this abyss that devours the produce and productivity of the rest of the country.
Well, I know one thing that's not going to make me happy, but it's inevitable, is California is going to go bankrupt.
Oh yeah.
And the government will bail them out with my tax dollars
Yes.
for their misbehavings,
Right.
especially that they have oil. That, you know, they could bail themselves out within 3 years if they drilled oil.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the fact of the matter is that they have a very good enough governor, Arnold Schwarzenegger, that seems to have balanced somehow the budget, the deficit, and so on. But with Mr. Brown now being elected, everything
Yeah.
Going backwards.
have gone backward in increasing the spending, and again they are having to face the tough call: increase taxes, or again the likelihood of bankruptcy.
Yeah, that's one thing we should say before the show's over. In the 4 years prior to this, I know that on the news media is focused a lot on the little silly bills, some of the crazy bills that went before the legislature, and there's always crazy bills. You get 400 state reps, there's going to be crazy bills. But the fact of the matter is that was true when the Democrats were in charge and the Republicans were in charge. So if you sift through that and look at the results, when the Democrats were in charge, by the time they were in charge for 4 years, their spending had gone up, the state budget had gone up 25%.
Yes.
That was, they barely balanced the budget in spite of getting $900 million from the federal government in stimulus funds and trying to steal money from the doctors up north,
Yes.
or the pool of money the doctors had used for liability insurance, and borrowing money. They had to borrow money to balance the budget.
Their last year they borrowed a lot of money.
They borrowed a lot of money. In spite of all that, the last 2 years of Republican legislature, we reduced the budget by 11% and didn't borrow anything.
Yeah.
That should be enough for anybody to know before they go to the polls.
Yes. Who to
Hey.
vote for?
Thank you very much, folks. John, thanks for hanging in there. Carlos,
Yes.
Thank you.
you're awesome.
Thank you.
And if you
Carlos.
guys, what ward is 11? No, what
I'm,
ward?
I'm in Ward 12.
Ward 12. You're in
Thank
Ward
you,
12.
Yes.
You've got to vote for Carlos.
That's our top demographic. Remember the research.
Yes, research.
Yes.
The research that we did. Oh, yes.
Yes.
What's
yes.
your research say about Goffstown?
Nobody.
We
nobody
didn't
from
know. We
Goffstown
don't really
watches
do
the show
research.
ever.
We just say
Yeah.
that to be nice. Yeah. Johnny and Friends. I put a plug in that for this. Johnny and Friends is a charitable organization. Tuesday evenings, October 2nd to November 27th, from 7 to 8:45 p.m. Johnny and Friends New England office, 307 Highlander Way in Manchester. Oh wow, the cost is $175. I thought I was going to go to that, but anyway, it's basically it's an entire series of classes on if you're suffering as a Christian. It teaches you teaches you how to see God through all that difficulty. Shauna Amick's involved. She's awesome, so it's probably really cool.
Very good.
Sorry,
That's all right. Are we done?
I think we're done.
All right, we're done.
We're done.
Bye, everybody.